Cities are fascinating. Each is an ecosystem composed of hundreds of thousands of individual lives. Every city has a unique history and culture, all of which is directly reflected in its unique architecture and urban design. Every single resident has the opportunity to play a role in shaping some portion of their urban fabric for generations to come, for better or for worse.
If I had to choose one location that tells a part of the story of how I became an urbanist, it would be this unsuspecting alleyway in Edmond, Oklahoma. The flecks of paint in this alleyway only tell a small piece of my story. This is one place where I had the opportunity to shape a piece of the built environment. But here, and here, the built environment shaped a piece of me. My name is Kyler, and I'm here to tell you the story of Eryngo Urbanism.
Chapter 1. What is urbanism?
To me, urbanism is a particular symbiotic interaction with a city or place. It's a way of contributing to the well-being of your city, and in return, your city and community will help you grow and thrive. An urbanist act can be something as simple as deciding to take public transit to work once or twice a week. An urbanist might engage with local politics, join community groups, or simply spend their Saturday at a local coffee shop. An urbanist might be a city planner, an urban designer, an architect, developer, civil engineer, landscape architect, or a politician. But they also might be a religious leader, a barber, a librarian, a rock star, or anyone else with influence in the community.
Chapter 2. The alleyway.
To explain why I started this channel, we need to go way back. Okay, not that far back, although that might be part of it. Nobody's ever said this before, but I want to take you back to 2021. This is when I was offered a short-term, socially distanced internship at the OU Institute for Quality Communities. At the time, I was halfway through my third year studying architecture at OU. During this internship, I was paired up with my friend and classmate, Riley, and local artist and architect Michael Hoffner was assigned as our mentor. We were tasked with developing a placemaking concept for downtown Edmond, focused around its alleyways. Edmond is a suburb of Oklahoma City, but in its heart, it has a fairly traditional, historic Main Street, which is actually called Broadway. But beyond the Main Street portion of Broadway, downtown Edmond is severely constrained by its surrounding stroads and parking lots. A previous IQC study had highlighted these parallel alleyways as a potential asset to the downtown area, especially if they could be made into safe and comfortable pathways for both pedestrians and cyclists. In the long term, this kind of alleyway conversion can reduce unsafe dead space and create a much more pedestrian-friendly environment, which would significantly benefit the city as a whole. We imagined cobblestones, plants, more public art, and rear entrances to buildings. Even Edmond's sacred downtown parking lots could begin to redevelop into alleyway-fronting businesses with residences above. But obviously, this kind of comprehensive redesign is simply not possible without a significant amount of community buy-in or momentum. So we proposed an experiment. We would create a temporary installation in a small piece of this alley to serve as a proof of concept for the idea of walkable alleyways and to gather community feedback. And so, over the course of a few months, we got to work planning, gathering support, and finally, closing and painting the alley. Then, a week later, during Edmond Vibes, which is the city's monthly arts festival, this alleyway was given back to the people of Edmond for an evening. The space contained a pop-up coffee shop, a popsicle stand, a live saxophonist, places to sit, and chalk for the kiddos. We set up renderings at both ends of the space to help people imagine what a continuation of this pedestrianized space could look like in the long term. And the feedback we received from the community throughout the event was overwhelmingly positive. And that was that. I went back to Norman in the fall with a new sort of optimism regarding public space in my home state. I wondered just how much better our places could be if only we paid more attention to these neglected spaces hiding in plain sight. I discovered others online talking about the same ideas that were churning in my mind. But I ended up spending most of my time that semester focused on my schoolwork. After all, it was my first post-pandemic semester back in person on campus.
Chapter 3. Study abroad.
The next year, in 2022, I had the opportunity to live in Rome for several months. As an architecture student, it was amazing to be able to experience so much incredible historic architecture in person. But weirdly, what stood out to me the most were the mundane, everyday experiences. Walking through a piazza on the way to buy some groceries, befriending a cat amidst some ancient ruins, hopping onto a train to take a quick weekend trip to a nearby small town, and then watching the countryside roll by through the window. You see, this was the first and only time in my life that I've truly lived car-free. It only took a few morning cappuccinos and afternoon gelatos on my way to and from class before I genuinely felt connected to the community I was living in, despite knowing that I had only just arrived and would soon be leaving. I kept noticing ways in which the design of the city contributed to an improved quality of life compared to what I had grown up knowing. So I started collecting video clips. And then I got back home. And I just couldn't escape this feeling that something was missing. So I went back to those online urbanist discussions I had found before my semester abroad. And now I was noticing more and more that people in these circles were understandably dismissive of places like Oklahoma. Tulsa and Oklahoma City were the butt of the joke, examples of what not to do, a cautionary tale. People would say, just move somewhere better. And sure, I totally understand where these people are coming from. But at the same time, I couldn't help but think back to that alleyway in Edmond, Oklahoma, which was transformed for an evening into a vibrant community gathering space. I thought back to the survey, the proof that there's a hunger for better public spaces in this community, even temporary ones that are dreamed up by a couple of college students. I knew it was time for me to join the conversation.
Chapter 4. The Channel.
These videos have been really challenging and exciting to make. As a design-oriented thinker, I try to look past the current reality of any given place. Through my videos, I try to share this thought process with you. Of course, there's the history of how a place came to be a certain way, but there also might be examples of other similar places in the world where design solutions to certain conditions have already been implemented and tested. Since coming up with the channel, I've been making an active attempt to look for and document designs that I do and don't like anywhere that I happen to travel to. Beyond that, there might be people working behind the scenes right now to improve the design of that very place. I'm certainly no journalist, but I've still been trying to seek out these people and learn from their perspectives. Every single resident has the opportunity to play a role in shaping some portion of their urban fabric for generations to come, for better or for worse. I want to help people envision what this kind of change can look like in a place as disregarded as Oklahoma. I want to continue to highlight the incredible work that others in the community are doing to help bring about this change. And most of all, I want to inspire you to get involved in these kinds of discussions in your city. If you're not sure where to start looking for these, a good first step would be joining our Discord server linked in the description. Today is the 2-year anniversary of this channel. I want to give a big thank you to everyone who has been a part of the journey so far, and I hope you'll stick around to see where we go next. I have about 28 video ideas in the works right now, and that list just keeps growing. I'm producing these videos in the little free time I have between working a full-time job at an architecture firm, studying for my architectural registration exams, and spending time with my friends and family. Each video on the channel represents hundreds of hours of work, and my hope is to continue improving the quality of production, storytelling, and research with each video. So if any of these goals seem worthwhile to you, please consider becoming a patron or reaching out to set up a video sponsorship. You can find more information about both of these options in the description below. If you're excited for more, the algorithm thinks that this would be a good video for you to watch. Welcome to Eryngo Urbanism.